You've been together as a group for 25 or so years, and I guess you're your own little family of friends within the group, but you all have your own families.
Yes.
And in the entertainment business, it's very difficult, obviously, to tour and go through the rigors of show business and music business, and to maintain a positive family life that becomes as a priority. And obviously, your friends and family are a priority to you. How do you juggle that?
Well, I've never had to juggle, but I know exactly what you mean, and I know from, say, the odds of the group, there's been 5, 6, you know, a couple of guys have come and gone in the group, but there's always been the 4 of us together, and out of the sort of 6 or 7 with producers and everything, you see in it being in a group what it means, and only 2 of the marriages have survived over the years, and mine, I don't know, you know, my wife is just she's just great, and we knew each other before any of the success happened, and she plays golf, and she's vice captain of a golf club. I'm really proud of her. She's captain next year, and she's very fit, and she has her own life, and I think that's probably the secret, so that she's not when you're coming home, you know, those are the worst kind of, I feel sorry for those musicians, you know, who get the call, when you're coming home, you know, and all that kind of stuff, because it's really kind of dumping it on a musician to do that, because he's got to be out there doing his gig. So I know what you're saying, but it hasn't happened to me. I've been very fortunate in my own marriage.
And your relationships with the other band members are equally as difficult. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but I'm sure you go through stages where you kind of get on each other's nerves.
Exactly, that's about it.
You just kind of work through that?
Yes, you do, and I think occasionally you have, you need to have big confrontations which will clear the air, and I think the thing is to really be truthful about your feelings and not to bottle things up, because then they just become huge in your own mind. You know, you can brood on them, and just try and get the stuff out, and if it needs a confrontation, do it. But really, I think we've got to the stage where we are, it is like a brother kind of thing. I know what the other guy's thinking anyway. I know what he thinks of me, and he knows what I think of him, and I know what he's done, he knows what I've done, he knows what I look like, you know, and without any clothes on, I know what he looks like. There's nothing between us anymore, you know.
Have you ever recorded a song that you listen to today that you wish you hadn't recorded, that you're embarrassed by, or?
Well, I wouldn't actually say embarrassed by. There's a lot of songs that we did that have a kind of naivety about them, and I can see that they can be, that naivety can be very appealing. But now, of course, it's just a little bit of a cringe, and so yes, I think that happens to every artist, and technically, of course, things are so much better now. The tempo of records and the style of the recording is so much better now. But then again, the appeal of the early recordings was their sort of emptiness, and somehow it was almost the stuff that wasn't played. It was the sort of the space in them that was appealing.
What about on the flip side of that? What's your favorite song?
Really, do you know what my favorite song is? My favorite song is a song called Deep, and it's from the Seul Amer album. And I think that's for me, that's just about the best thing I've ever done. And I remember Eddie Grant coming in the studio when we were doing it, and he was just sort of mesmerised by it. And I'm a fan of and a friend of his, and we sort of enjoyed it together, and it was great.
The Moody Blues have been around for such a. I keep going back to how long you've been around, because it's to me it's so amazing that you have such fan loyalty.
Yeah.
Why do you think you engendered that?
I think it's because a lot of people identify with the lyrics, and they can see it as relevant in their own life, and it's a lot of the time we are writing. What we're writing is a sort of reflection of what they're going through as well, and so I think that has a lot to do with it. Also because there's been no sort of record company that spent millions of dollars on us to give us sort of Moody Mania week or anything like that. It's where everybody's gone completely bonkers over the Moodies. So people really discovered the band for themselves. And I know as a fan of music that when you do that, it's a very valuable thing. That'll stay with you for... If you discover a band yourself, it'll always mean something really special to you instead of being sold it, you know?
Yeah. How many albums have you sold?
I think it's very difficult to tell because there's an awful lot of albums that we've sold that we've never been paid for, so, or that sort of go unrecorded, particularly in the Far East and in the Orient and in India. It's all, and in South America, it's all a bit sort of bootleg, you know. You never really get paid for that stuff. But officially, it's up to about 55, 60 million.
Wow. The sound that you do, everybody, when you say what is one of the strong points of the Moody Blues, it's always the sound of the concerts. Really duplicates the sound of the album. There's a lot of groups that you have their album, you play their CD, and it sounds wonderful, then you see the group in concert, and boy, the sound is really off. Every note, it seems to me, of the Moody Blues in concert feels the same as listening to them. How do you accomplish that?
I think that's we've come back to that. We got away from it for a while, and where we were, you know, one of the musicians that was with us didn't play the kind of parts as written, and you tend to sort of move away from it. But the last couple of years, I think we've got back to it. I think it's because you realise that what was originally done was the right thing, and the more you experiment with the song, you just kind of come round in a circle, and you think, well, what we did in the first place was exactly right, and I know that that's, as a singer and a songwriter, I mean, they're playing my songs, so I know that that's what I want to hear them as I originally conceived them, and the ideas that anybody else had went into them at the time of recording, and they were the right ideas then, otherwise I'd have rejected them. So I did go through all the other possibilities at that time, so let's just play it as written now.
Where do you see yourself a year from today? You have a new album coming out? Are you working on a new album? I mean, you're doing something with cable, aren't you? Or a cable special or something?
Yes, that's right. We're doing a couple of things along those lines, and the Colorado Symphony Orchestra we recorded that to 48-track digital, so I believe that's being released along with the video and after the PBS special, and so that's to come. We start recording again in February next year on new material, and while I've been in England and in France this year, I've been writing new songs, and you know, I enjoy playing those and working those out with the guys, and yeah, there's always new things on the horizon. Still waiting for Stanley Kubrick to ask us to do his new film, you know, so that call never seems to come.
Are you interested in doing a soundtrack for a film?
I've done it many times, yes, and I've worked for the BBC a couple of times, and you know, that is a cutthroat business, and that's a tightly protected. There's a small circle of writers and arrangers who really have that sewn up, and it's very difficult getting your foot in the door of that one. But I would love to. I know how to do it, and I would love to do more of it. Yeah.
Okay, we have about a minute left. I can't let you leave without asking you this question. What do you guys mean when you sing the song "Ride My Seesaw"?
I think it's almost like a roller coaster.
I mean, how about the Timothy Leary part?
Yeah.
Timothy Leary. I mean Timothy Leary.
Oh, you mean, okay, Legend of a Mind.
Yes, Legend of a Mind. Timothy Leary's dead. No, he's outside looking in.
Yeah. It really expresses our kind of psychedelic period, and we went through that whole psychedelia, as did a whole generation, and some of us visited you know, went to the temple, as I did, and others didn't, but those who did, we wrote about what our experiences were, and it does really come from that psychedelic period. In fact, Timothy at the time was a very, very good friend of his, and we went to stay, Ray and myself and Mike went up to stay at his ranch in California before he had a lot of the sort of hassles that he had from the government and everything. And I think he was a very misunderstood man, you know. His intentions have always been only for the best, and certainly not subversive, really. Or maybe they have, I don't know, but I mean, for me, they were always the best, and he's a charming man.
Justin, thank you very much for being here, and hey, I hope that this group keeps going till you're all in your 70s. And there's a lot of fans like me that feel that way.
Thank you very much, Ed.
Thank you very much. And we'll see you next week.